approve the minutes for January 26, 2023.
I got a second?
Second.
Second. I got a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the minutes for January the 17th, 2023. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from January 17th, 2023.
All right, need a second?
Second.
Second. All right, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. On the old business, update on existing TCT project, Mr. Bill Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it on? Is mic on? The county roads are finished except for a couple of minor areas that we've got to go back and refix. The state roads have not been started. We will not make the deadline. I know when we took this job, I told y'all you would never have to worry about that again, but I want to explain to you. We've got $1 million worth of paving on top of mixing by DOT. DOT lost all last summer with their equipment. They've got 2 of the mixers. They both down. They can't even get a promise of when they'll get parts. So it would take them a month if they started tomorrow before we could pave it. I have written a letter to Columbia explaining the situation. Brian's aware of it, and he's in on it. I have not heard back from them, but I don't see how in the world they can penalize us when we're waiting on them. I just, strange things happen, but I just don't see how that can happen. Now, the contractor's got a little bit of work that they can do, and they are gearing up to do it. So about half of it will be done, and about half of it won't. Any questions?
Will that affect the paving of Dearborn Street?
No. No.
Got any idea when that might start?
No.
Okay.
These are, this is Pilgrim Road's what it is.
Okay.
DOT was going to do the reclamation, and we've got 2 contracts to come back and pave it. But like I said, it'll take them 4 or 5 weeks to do Pilgrim Road, and it's 1st of May, so it ain't gonna happen. It'll happen, it's gonna happen, but it ain't gonna happen on time.
You think Pilgrim Road's, do you think Pilgrim Road's towards the top of their list? Where is the equipment
When
at?
they start, Pilgrim Road is the first road on their list. When they start back up, Pilgrim Road's first road on their list.
Good.
So, I mean, we're at the top of the list. It's just a matter of, there's nothing happening to the list.
Hey, didn't y'all do a road of, you know what Ward Road is, right off Ashbury Road? Y'all did that, what's the name of that road? Y'all did that circle, it's right off Ashbury Road, and it's back to the left, and it's a road called Ward, W-A-R-D Road. And they say they didn't even fix their road.
I don't
did
believe,
the
I
circle.
don't believe that was on our list. That's the
wasn't?
first time I've heard of that name.
Well, a lady called me and asked me about it, and they done that road, I guess the little circle, but they said they never did come down there and fix their road, and it's like a dirt road. So that road real bad, so I don't know.
Robert? I'm not familiar with the road, and it hadn't been on our list. That's all I can tell you.
I'll find out, it's right there off Ashbury Street, Ashbury Road.
The road that I get more complaints on is Discovery Road, down off of 321, off of 97 there, just as you go. Past Aiken Creek Road would be the first paved road back to the right along where Gaston Farm used to be, well, is
Discovery.
Discovery Road, yeah.
That's where Dr. Mollett said that wreck.
Yeah, right before you get to that road there, yeah. They call me all the time on that road. I've looked at it, really not that bad, but on down in there, it must get pretty bad. I don't know.
I have not looked at that one. I don't believe it's on our list either, is it, Robert?
Yeah. There's a guy that used to work for the highway department, that lives on that road, and about once or twice a month, he'll call me about it. So I told him I'd check on it, so if you get a chance, down that way, just look at it for me.
I'll do it.
All right.
You check that Ward Road for me too.
I'll do that also.
Thank you, sir.
Let me ask you a question. Ever since I started running for council, all I've heard about is Rodman ball fields. Now, the last time I don't know if I was on council last time, you mentioned something. There was something you were going to do to Blaney Road and Rodman ball field. What is that?
The Rodman, we call it Rodman Drive, is under contract. It's going to be reclaimed, paved, and when you come out to the road, it does not come out straight now. It comes out at an angle, and DOT is going to require us to make it come into a 90, because we're going to have an extra turn lane, and that way everybody will be able to see people coming. That'll be done this summer.
And that's going to be done this summer. Is
Yeah.
that in conjunction with the work that's going to be starting on Rodman, if that all works out?
No, this has nothing to do with the ball field work.
So this is
This
a
is just-
DOT project.
Well, no, it's a county road that goes right through the middle of the project. Comes off Rodman Road and goes to the end. That's the one you're talking about, right?
What I'm talking about is Blaney Road. Blaney Road and
We're not
Rod-
doing anything to Blaney Road,
Okay.
except where we tie in, we're gonna make Rodman tie in at a 90 degree, and we'll have 3 lanes instead of 2, which will help get the traffic out of there.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, on the new business, it's got the discussion regarding the state CTC meeting update. Is that something you've already covered, or is that something?
No, I put a brochure on everybody's desk a little while ago, or Karen did. This is the PowerPoint presentation that they gave at that meeting, and I can sit here and go through page after page after page, which I'm not going to do, because if you're interested in it, you can look at it, and believe me, there's some really interesting stuff in here. DOT's got a lot of money, they spending a lot of money, they bidding out roads. I know you don't realize it and don't know it, but if you look at this book, and this book is the gospel, and it's, when it says they've done it, they've done it. And they told us at that meeting they've done it. In fact, they've overdone it, to be honest with you. They put so much cement on the street that the contractors can't buy it. The cement mills can't make it, and we're 4 years behind.
They say anything about bridges?
Bridges, they working on bridges too.
I noticed Ed Darby put a notice in the paper about, Rambo Road, there'll be 2 bridges fixed on it. Poor Ross Dye's still sitting there.
If you look in here, you'll find out the number of bridges
All right.
that they're working on, and it's a large amount, believe me. They spending a ton of money. I mean, they spending a ton of money. All right, so much for that, unless somebody's got a question.
No more questions, we'll move on to this, the approval of bid, RFB 22-54, Chester County on-call maintenance project, Faulkner Development and Engineering, LLC, in the amount of $129,900.
We're trying something new. Every time we get a contract out, we end up with a driveway pipe that's tore up, that's got to be replaced, or somebody's knocked the end off of one, or whatever, and Public Works doesn't have the manpower to fix them. So I'm trying an on-call project. We must have 40 different items on this project where they've given us a unit price to do the work. Now, from now on, when we get a pipe that's busted in the driveway, we're gonna call them up and say, we got 18 feet of 18-inch pipe. It needs to be replaced and pave over top of it. Put riprap on each end. So we've got a fixed price. We don't have to take change order prices that are always inflated. And I think it's gonna work out like a jewel. We did it so that small contractors could bid it, and we had small contractors. I'm really not familiar with this Faulkner, except I understand that he's a good guy and does good work. Maybe some of y'all know him, I don't.
Right.
But this is sort of a test project, but I believe it's going to really be good, really be successful.
Good. Any more question, discussion on that? Hearing none, the approval of road and sign reimbursement. Oh, we're gonna need it, we're not gonna approve it twice, are we? Okay. All right, we need a motion to approve the Faulkner Development Engineering for $129,900. Need a motion on that? We have to approve it twice.
So moved.
Need a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Second, got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So to make sure I'm clear about this, so, this is not project-specific. This is something we may, as long as we have projects popping up, we've basically given approval to use this method for going forward until
Correct.
we
And we're
change
gonna,
directions.
we're going to do it with a PO. Each separate little project will have a separate PO, so we can keep up with it. And Susan's good with that. See, if we go over $100,000 on a project, it has to be bonded. So we're not going to have any projects that big. Most of these projects are going to be $15,000, $20,000.
So this amount of $129,000 really isn't gonna happen.
It's a fictitious number because I took all these quantities and put a number beside them,
Okay.
where whatever number I dreamed up, and it added up to be 129, so 129 is misleading.
Any more discussion?
So I'm certain Mr. Hester will have good oversight over this, right? To make sure that's working and keep us updated. Every time this happens, we'll know about it.
Right, and I think Bill and I had some conversation about it last week. I think this will actually save us money at the end of the day, the way he's got it set up. So I think it's probably good practice.
Any
Anything
more
else?
discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Okay, moving right along to C, approval of road and sign reimbursement for $25,325.01 for road sign material to the road department. Mr. Robert Hall.
We're requesting for $25,325 for maintenance material and also for sign material back to the roads department. What we've done before in the past, I know signs came under litter pickup. So what we've done is, instead of using litter for sign material and roads for rock and road material, we're just gonna streamline it and put it in one account, so it's easier accounting for Tommy to track the funds that's being spent.
Any questions, comments on that?
So this is not money that has already been spent, this is just money that's in the account that you're gonna move from one account to another?
This is money that's been spent.
And it was spent out of the litter fund?
No, it will spend all this fund you see now that you have in front of you, I assume, is money that was paid out of the roads department. So we're requesting funds, reimbursement for that.
Already been spent. All right, any more discussion? All right, need a motion to approve the reimburse the road department for $25,325.01.
So move.
So moved, got a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vaughn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Okay, recommendation to change the CTC accounting process. Mr. Hester.
Well, good evening, everybody. Back to Mr. Coleman's comments about the C funds and the accounting process for those, and the situation that we're in currently because of DOT's or the state's equipment being down. There's two methods for accounting. One's DOT administered, the other is we're the self-administrator of those funds. Used to, we got charged under DOT's administration plan 3% for them to administer that. They have waived that. So now going forward in the future, we can let DOT administer those funds or administer that program for us. With them administering the program, it does a couple of things. Once we encumber, and I say encumber, once we authorize the expenditure, we won't be in the same situation we're in right now if their equipment's broke down or whatever reason that we can't get the roads paved or the money spent. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but currently, we're in jeopardy because of this, because of their equipment being down, that we would have to give back the 25% allocation that we've got that were for state roads. It's actually 33%, but because we had extra funds that came to us, it was only 25 in this group. So under my recommendation to go back with a DOT-administered program, as long as we authorize it, and that money's been authorized out, whether they've got it done or not got it done, or pavement's hitting the road, we're not in jeopardy of having to give back money. That makes sense to everyone? The other thing that's really important with the administration being self-administered, Mr. Darby, if you want him to speak to how much work it causes him, it's a tremendous amount of work, especially at the end of the year when he has to provide reports to SCDOT. And they're very detailed reports. There's an audit that goes with that. Under the South Carolina DOT administered program, we're not responsible for that. On page 9 of the booklet that Mr. Coleman gave you, there's a little bit of comparison to it. One side has your DOT administered, one side has a self-administered, so you can take a look at it if you want from that. But I feel like for us, it's a win-win situation since they've waived a 3% fee.
So when do we write that money over? Do we do that at this time or after the projects, or at what point do we send the money their direction?
Under the new plan?
Yes.
It would be reimbursed, and would it be after the project's completed or once authorized?
You file monthly estimates, and DOT reimburses you for it. So what it amounts to, instead of having whatever Tommy has to do the accounting, you'll have one person that'll take, and I'll send them the estimate. They'll have to pull the council check, send those two to Columbia. Columbia sends them back the reimbursement check.
How do we make sure that we don't get penalized in case things go slower than anticipated?
Once you program it, when it's DOT administered, once you program it, it's written in stone.
Okay.
In other words, whether you do it today, tomorrow, next week, it comes in, it's put in committed funds. It's no longer, it's available to draw interest, but it's no longer available for expenditures.
Gotcha.
We do it in Fairfield. It's a really simple system.
Let me ask you a question while you back up your, Bill. Is Chester County the only county that's having problem with machinery broke down to where they can't complete a job, or is it other counties that are in the same shape that we're in?
District 4 all depends on this same equipment. And they barely got through Fairfield and finished up Christmas week, as a matter of fact.
And we've been just as high as we can go down there with our request for we can't afford to pay for their mistakes.
Well, it ain't gonna cost us any money if they waive it.
Well, that's what I say, but somebody said that we may have to reimburse that 25 or 30.
Well, if we have to reimburse it, it would be money that we've got under contract. See, we've got the contracts in place to do the paving,
Yeah,
and I can't believe they're gonna do anything but waive it.
Yeah.
Because if we have to, we just have to withdraw the contract, which we have a right to do. And instead of paying the contractor, we'll send the money to Columbia and they can pave it.
yeah.
And we can ask them to put it certain places, but we can't make them put it in certain places.
Yeah, they beat to the sound of their own drum down there.
That's right, and
And Mr. Coleman has communicated or reached out to them on this waiver, but we haven't received anything back at this point.
I did last week, and I don't know if I don't hear by the middle of this week, I'll follow up on it. They've got a new guy that's running the CTC, and he's, came out of a different world, and he's learning fast.
Thank you, sir. Just, is that it? Or
That's it on that recommendation, yes, sir.
do we need to make a motion and vote on that?
Yes, sir.
We do.
Would-
Yes, sir. It's a change of process.
Yes.
Would you state that motion again?
So the motion would be to change the accounting process for the C funds from the self-administered to the South Carolina DOT administered accounting.
Okay, all right, I'll make that motion. Do we get a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. All right,
They've got 2 or 3 forms, which I'll get them to send to us,
all right,
and then
thanks,
we can
sir.
go from there.
Bill, you might ought to stay there for the next part. And real quick, we've got about 8 minutes, so in the essence of time, the next portion of business is discussion of Commerce Drive. It's information only right now, but I think this is the proper time to bring it up. There's been a lot of discussion on Commerce Drive over, I would say before me, for 2 to 3 years. And so, Mr. Coleman has provided me with, and I think it's all in your packets that you guys have somewhere there. Karen, they have those, they have that drawing? Okay, so there's a drawing that you have of Commerce Drive on your iPad. I'm not sure what it's under.
What page number is it on?
It's in the beginning,
So, no, page 12.
page 12.
So what this is a recommendation by Mr. Coleman on, there's been a request for us to fix Commerce Drive. Well, the area that's really in question is that first, when you turn in off of Highway 9, in front of the gas station there, and you start to go down. And again, there's been question about Commerce Drive and where the county owns. At the end of the day, what remains, it needs to be fixed. And not just fixed, but how do we keep that from happening again? And so when you take a look at this drawing, and Mr. Coleman gave me 3 other options, or 2 other options, I'm sorry, but they went well into over $1 million, the cost for the other options, and were required a lot more approval and other things to happen. But the one you're looking at, what it would basically do is create a turn lane for these trucks, big tractor trailers and trucks that would be staying overnight down at that. Which is what's eating a lot of that roadway up. If they got to go to the east, you can still go all the way to the traffic light in the normal pattern. But there's also, and I'm not sure what you call the areas you've created in white, what do you call those sections, the buffers,
Storage areas.
those things, that give you, they take, instead of just a drop-off edge of the roadway, you have a little bit more asphalt concrete that's painted that would alleviate, because a lot of times these big trucks and dump trucks dropping off the roadway, they're just chipping away at that road as well. So the beauty of this project is it fits into the budget that was originally requested, I believe, 3 years ago for the improvements to that road. Is that correct, Bill?
Correct. This is just the intersection now. This isn't the whole road. Don't misunderstand what we're talking
right.
about here. This is just the intersection back 150 feet or whatever it is.
So what you gonna do with the part that's already, that's a new road you're creating to turn, we're gonna fix the part, that, the existing part too? We're just gonna repair it and not gonna do anything extra to it? Where you come right out of the service station,
At the light.
at the light?
Yeah. at the
That's the
light.
part we're gonna fix.
Okay, but then we're gonna add the part before that, right? We're
Correct.
adding road there, right?
Correct. Well, we adding a turn lane.
And right. You're going to add a turn lane that's all dirt right now.
Yeah.
And then you're going to add that I think he called them storage areas off to that's dirt right now as well. And you would fix all the way to Light. Now, the question asked, what has DOT said? Somebody's already asked me, has DOT approved this? We haven't taken it, actually, you've given it to DOT to play with, I think.
I
now.
sent it with them today, but I sort of wanted to get y'all's input before I went too far with them. Make sure y'all are interested in doing it.
Did you
That's
say
when
this
you
was
come out.
within budget to do it?
Well, so when the roads were submitted, this road has been submitted or was requested to be fixed, I think, 3 years ago. It was not selected. And the amount that was proposed for it at that time, I believe, was roughly around the same
Same
dollar
amount.
figure, same amount. So council wouldn't be able to vote on this until September is when you vote on the new roads, is that correct?
Correct.
So this right now is really for informational purposes for you, because I know you get a lot of questions about Commerce Drive. I actually have been meeting with the Gateway Steering Committee, and that's one of the big concerns, is Commerce Drive. So I just wanted to present this, that there is an option. Bill will be working with DOT to make sure that it's approval, and, but it'll be up to council to select this road for improvement in September.
Mr. Bill, are we gonna do anything on the, when you're coming from, like if you're coming down number 9 from Lancaster and you're turning into the gas station and going towards the hotel, if you look at this picture real good, you can see where the tail end of trucks been eating up
Yeah,
that grass area too.
We're gonna widen the whole thing in there.
Okay.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
what-
they're eating up both sides of it.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it plenty, and no matter how wide you make it, they're gonna still run off the edge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But we're gonna make it wide enough where we at least have a shot.
Except for me and you, right?
yeah, that's going into the gateway, right? That's going into the gateway.
Mr. Killian and I got
Yeah.
CDL license, except for us. We're good drivers.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Coleman. The road that we do not own that goes to the Gateway is supporting 80,000 pounds on tractor trailer trucks going down there to stay at the Holiday Inn. When that road is torn up, who's going to be responsible for fixing that?
I can't answer that question.
That's kind of,
I know what Joni's told us, and I know what some other lawyers said, but I can't answer that question. I don't know the answer to that question.
Mr. Agee has done a good segue into the question I had was quite a bit of discussion about who owned Commerce Drive and was it the county road or not? The areas that we're looking at on this plan, is all of that firmly and positively
I believe-
designated county property?
I believe so. It's my understanding. There's a stopping point up there, and then you got Commerce Drive. Isn't that right, Joni?
I'd have to compare this
I know
against.
you would. We're catching you
the plat
cold, I know
have.
that, but
Yeah.
that's my understanding, that you can go about where the gateway sign is, and then
We've
it
been in-
changes.
Who is that, what investment concern that owns that now? That
The
they've
Hackett.
given us a lease on it or a right of way to run up and down it? Or who is
Uh,
that?
That's the Hackett Partnership, and Bob and Patel was going to handle that.
We now haven't heard anything back from that. I think we need to contact Mr. Patel and have him to open that back up and try to get in touch with these people so we can come to some conclusion or some understanding about that road, because it's definitely, I'll agree that it's going to be in the future, it's not going to be as far down in the future before those repairs going to need to be made. So if we could just, I don't know if that'd be a Ms. Winters question or a Mr. Hester question.
Well, I'll be attending the steering committee meeting on Wednesday of this week, so I'll bring it up again. I'll just remind him.
And we have to have some before we can move forward.
And I think, Ms. Winters, you correct me if I say something that's not 100% accurate or that you disagree with. First 250 feet, it's our responsibility.
Right.
After that, it's up for question, basically because the Hicklam property, and we have deeded access to it, is that correct?
We have an easement.
Easement.
We have what what's the word I'm looking for? It's unexclusive. It's a non-exclusive easement, meaning it's not our easement, it's anybody's easement that wants to traverse that road. So, but all it would take is a quitclaim deed from the owners to make it ownership as opposed to an easement. I don't mean to simplify it, but it really isn't that hard.
And I think at the end of the day, we're just talking about some asphalt on a road. That road's not in bad shape. It doesn't really need any work at this point. What happens, where the problem comes in, from that 250 feet that we're talking about, all the way down to the Gateway Center and the hotel, is the big trucks and other things that go down there. They're destroying the parking lots. They're destroying the curbs because they're trying to, it wasn't designed for that to come in and out of there. And so that's really where the problem comes. The road itself, I mean, it doesn't have potholes in it going down that way. It's an older road, I guess, but it's not in bad condition from that 250 foot down.
The owner of the hotel and the owner of that gas station is the same individual.
Yeah.
And he would very much like to get this done.
Well, that's who Mr. Hester's going to question about it this coming Wednesday at the meeting down at the Gateway. So we'll, hopefully we'll hear something back from that then.
I'll bring it up.
Thank you, sir. Is that it?
That's it. Yes, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. That's it. As far as the CTC's meeting, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the CTC meeting.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. CTC meeting is adjourned. All right. We'll take about a couple minute break here, and then we'll go ahead and open up our regular